This video is dedicated to Christian Roberts. Christian, thank you. Playing with Christian Roberts' Sasaya deck today, and up against Kenrith, Karametra, and Zur the Enchanter. Yeah, not the best. I'd like some ramp, to be honest, so a little bit of a greedy mulligan, but I'm going to try the mulligan on that. We've got lots of lands in this deck because it's a Sasaya deck, and we do get into some ramp in a turn 1 Sol Ring. The turn 1 Sol Ring doesn't... Oh yeah, it does help us. I was going to say it doesn't particularly help us, but it does with explosive veggies, so we will play it on turn 1. We see a turn 1 play in Exploration from Karametra, so I wonder if this is an Enchantress build. It'll be a nice change of pace to not see Sithis. As much as I love Sithis, it is... yeah, spoken about that with a few people. I don't think there's any need for it to be 2 mana. And then we see a Temple of Plenty for a Scry. We draw into a forest on turn 1, drop the Sol Ring and pass. Arcane Signet from Zur the Enchanter, so likely be seeing that commander next turn. Sun Petal Grove, along with a Mistveil Plains from Karametra, can play 2 lands a turn, don't forget. Followed by Sterling Grove, that adds credence to the idea that this is an Enchantress build. Could just be to protect the Karametra though. Down to 3 cards already. Maybe goes for an Enchantress with this. I'd probably go Eidolon of Blossoms if I was my opponent, because it does cantrip on entry. And welcome to Magic Online, we get an early scoop. Hopefully we can still show off this deck for Christian. This deck is brought to us by Christian Roberts, by the way. And this will be the last Patreon deck submission that I do for the foreseeable future, because it's just been way too draining and it takes up a hell of a lot of time, and quite frankly the views on the channel have gone down a hell of a lot, so I can't really warrant putting lots and lots and lots of time into all the videos that I've been doing. So I've changed the Mythic tier to I will make a deck list for you once a month if you give me the caveats to the type of deck that you would want me to build. So that's something that interests you. You can remain a Mythic patron or go and become one if there is a spot open for you. Big thank you to all the patrons for supporting the channel. Zur the Enchanter coming into play as we thought it would. Alright, and there we see Aura of Silence. I've just been making a Pillow Fort deck for Oloro after many years of playing or not playing Oloro, and I can't remember if I kept Aura of Silence in there or not. Anyway, glad we got down the Sol Ring before now. There is a Garruk Primal Hunter. We'll drop a land. Do we want to get the Garruk out while we can? I imagine it just eats some removal from Zur, but we'll go for a beast with the Garruk. Typically speaking, the Zur player just goes for protection onto Zur as soon as it's able to attack in, so I'm assuming that they might go for Hexproof onto that or something. Zur swinging in at us directly as opposed to the Garruk. And going for Rule of Law. Alright, so maybe have a bit of a Staxy build from the Zur player. Still 6 cards in hand over there. And throwing out a Chromatic Lantern. That is a 5 mana Chromatic Lantern thanks to the Aura of Silence. Aura of Silence might go on the Rule of Law. Karametra continuing to leave the Sterling Grove in play. And now we see a Karmic Justice, so definitely an Enchantress build. Luckily, haven't seen any Enchantresses yet. Another forest for us, so do we go for some card draw with Garruk? That does mean that the Zur can take it out. Yeah, I think I might play it greedy here. Well, we're definitely dropping a forest. And I think I'll play it greedy and just draw the cards now. We get 3 cards with a beast token in play. I can go Beast Within on Zur's turn. Alright, now we've got Hero's Bane, which doesn't have reach. Comes in with 4+ counters. There's Temple of Discovery as well. Yavimaya Elder also. Can only play one of these, of course. So let's go for Hero's Bane. It maximises the amount of mana that we are using here, and that way we can still hold up the Beast Within. Now if we swing in against the Enchantress player, we're at risk of having the 2 enchantment players gang up on us, and they might be ganging up on us anyway because we're in green, and we could go for Bane of Progress or some means of blowing up all the enchantments, so I think it's a pretty tough matchup for us, to be honest. Can't play any more spells this turn, so we'll have to pass it over to Zur. There is a Swiftfoot Boots. We will encourage them to equip the Swiftfoot Boots. Having to pay 4 mana into that, and now we can go for the Beast Within. Karametra is passing through all the turns, so there's no swords or path that they're holding up. And we know that the Xur player can't play any more spells here, so they didn't have Swan Song or Spell Pierce that they could have gone for there, thanks to the Rule of Law being in play. Playing a land after that is Hall of Heliod's Generosity, down to 4 cards now. And the Beast token, that is a 3-3 up against our 4-4, so I dare say they just hold it back. Nope, going in against the Garruk. Yeah, and then pulling it back. Not sure what the aim was there. Maybe thought that this was smaller than it was. A Worship, and that is in a white border. For any of you that don't know, this is very important. If you never learn anything from this channel, learn this. These white border cards, you can buy them in foil, and they come in a black border. Don't know why Wizards did that. Don't know why they gave us white borders in the first place. But these are vile, and you need to be buying them in foil to get those nice frames, but black borders. Over to our turn, we will see what we manage to draw into. That is Sakura Tribelder. Can only cast one of those, of course, so we'll plus on the Garruk to make another beast. And then I imagine Swiftfoot Boots is going to get activated next turn, so yeah, it'd be nice to get multiple things going here, but Runic Armor Saw is going to be some good card draw for us, I think. So we'll throw out ourselves a Runic Armor Saw, and let's swing in at Karametra again. Yeah, Runic Armor Saw can block the beast, so we'll swing in towards the beast as well. I imagine they get Xur down next turn and just equip the boots, so we can't block that thanks to it having flying. And they decide not to block there, so I'm going to go for the plus counters now to pile on as much damage as I can, because I think it's going to matter in this game. So our opponent's down to 32 and 34. So there we are, Xur the Enchanter coming into play. And not putting haste on that with the Swiftfoot Boots. We're not going to see a Shame Scoop here, are we? Okay, going straight through the turn, not moving the Swiftfoot Boots, so I'm assuming there's some counter magic to use here. Maybe assuming that a land's going to come down into Karametra. Fertile Ground enchanting a land, so getting a bit more mana, not in the form of a land, unfortunately for them. So that was a pretty fast turn cycle. And it's another forest for us. Let's plus on the Garruk. We can go potentially for another -3 on that next turn if Xur doesn't swing in at it. So now we drop a land. Let's go for the Yavimaya, I think. And we'll sacrifice the Yavimaya so that we can draw a card and get a couple of lands as well. I think we might be at a point where we need to stop playing lands now so that we can try and get our commander into play and flip it round. And we draw into with that Seek the Horizon, search for 3 basic lands, put them into your hand, so that should help us. So let's go Hero's Bane in at Xur again, and then these beasts can go in at the Karametra player. We're going to double up our Hydra's power here, so it would probably be a good idea for Xur to block if he's able to, which should be able to throw away that beast, I would think. Looks like Xur isn't blocking. So we'll go for the activation again. So jumping our Hydra up to a 16-16. And down to 16 the Xur player goes, so they're obviously hoping to get back into it this turn. Swiftfoot Boots now going on to the Xur the Enchanter. Not triggering the Armor Saw. Oh, it's of a creature or land. I thought it was equipments as well, so yeah, Swiftfoot Boots doesn't trigger the Runic Armor Saw. Still a decent blocker though with 5 toughness. A big spell incoming, that is Exquisite Blood. So costing 2 extra mana yet again, 7 mana for that. And they could grab themselves a means of lifelink with this, and then maybe get into Sanguine Bond or Veto or something. Obviously setting up the combo with this thing. Swinging in towards Garruk this time with Xur the Enchanter, so maybe able to buff the Xur the Enchanter. Really has to knock Garruk's loyalty down here because we will be drawing 16 cards next turn potentially, and that would be a damn good way to flip round our commander. Not that all the mana would make much use to us if we've got Rule of Law to worry about, but I dare say we draw into a means of dealing with that. Alright, going for a Ghostly Prison, not really too worried about that. I'm sure the Pillow Fort will build higher and higher, but we've got plenty of mana to play into it. So just 1 damage going on to the Garruk. I think with Karametra struggling on mana, I dare say they just go for Karametra next turn. Might be worth just piling in on the Esper player next turn. And isn't that always the way? The Karametra player managing to make a land this time. Could have done with that last turn, I'm sure. So there's Karametra, and it is animated, so a 6/7 with Indestructible. That will just lead us in towards Zur as well. Just grateful that we haven't seen any Enchantresses yet over there. Another land for us, just makes it easier to flip the commander around. Plus on the Garruk, that's all we can do. Made a lot of use out of this commander, or this Planeswalker. So if we go 4 mana, we'll have 4/6 left available, so we can go 2/4/6. How many lands do we need? It's 7 or more lands, so with this we'll have the 7 that we need. So we'll go through to attacks here, I think. And then we've got 4 mana held up for Seek the Horizon as well. Yeah, the Rule of Law is really hurting us here. I dare say they'll block the Hydra with the Beast token. Luckily for them, no trample on there. Okay. Yeah, they were just going to block a Beast token there and then pulling it back. Yeah, that is the block they need to make, so they'll be dealt 6 damage here and lose their Beast token. They are going to have their Zur in play during the next turn cycle though, so we'll be able to swing in with that. So now we go Seek the Horizon and get to search for some forest cards and put them into our hand. And then I'm going to try and flip around my commander next turn, so we're not going to play a land. We're just going to have to discard the Sakura Tribelder and the Tempt with Discovery. I'm not sure what we grab with Tempt with Discovery, to be honest, but it doesn't exactly help us with having a bunch of lands in hand. Something like Return of the Wild Speaker would be really good, or even Shamanic Revelation at this point. Although I'm not sure how good Shamanic Revelation is in the deck. Anyway, continuing to hammer away at the Garruk, just keeping that off its -3. If we manage to get our commander into play and flip it round, we'll have no problem dealing with Pillow Fort effects. Yeah, really setting up the Pillow Fort over there. It is Propaganda this time. And they will deal the 1 damage to Garruk. Noteworthy that Zur has left himself open in the red zone there, so yeah, might be likely that there's a Cyclonic Rift. The 1 spell for Karametra is Mastery of the Unseen. Whenever a permanent you control is turned face up, gain a life for each creature you control, and you can manifest for 4 mana. So might as well go for the manifest here. Can't cast any more spells. Holding the Karametra back, and we draw into Pier's Whim. Making them sacrifice an artifact or enchantment doesn't particularly help against Enchantress players. Yeah, Pier's Whim usually a really good card, but we've just got a really unlucky matchup for that. So let's go for the Beast before our opponent does anything else. I think they've probably got Cyclonic Rift or some kind of instant speed shenanigans. So we probably want to cast our commander after combat. So I don't think, thanks to the Propaganda and the Ghostly Prison, we're going to be taking our opponent out here. Yeah, if they've got Rift, they've got it. They probably win the game with a Cyclonic Rift with this board state, so we will go like that, get down our commander. Never flip round a Sasaya, so we'll try and do it now. And we can reveal again at instant speed in response to any kind of Swords to Plowshares or anything. Alright, so that flips around, and that is now a legendary enchantment, even though it's in line with the creatures. So now we can drop a forest again. Each forest is tapping for 9 mana, so that is 10. Yeah, I don't think it matters if we lose a floating mana there, so we'll go straight through to combat and see if we can actually do anything here. They might have Settle the Wreckage or something like that. Yeah, does a Zur player have Settle the Wreckage? There's blue Settle the Wreckage effects as well, Ether Spouts and stuff. Yeah, we'll just go in with these 3 beasts. They'll go down to 1 if we hit with all of these, but I think they've definitely got something, so we'll pay our 16 mana that we have to put into that by tapping down just 2 lands. Alright, and the Zur player scooping surprisingly, so they didn't have anything at all, holding up all that mana, and yeah, didn't have anything to do with it whatsoever, so that's why you don't quit. That's why you don't quit. I really was thinking that the tables were about to turn on us, but now we're up against a Karametra player who does not have all that much mana. problem is they can cast multiple spells in a turn now. Not going for the Sterling Grove at least. Not worthy that Aura of Silence can blow up our commander as well, and we don't have the 7 lands in hand anymore. There we go, there is a Ghostly Prison there as well. And at the end step we might as well buff our Hydra, so tapping down all the lands, I think it was 5 lands for 45 mana. And we're effectively forcing our opponent to block the Hydra here, or at least remove it. It's a 32-32 at the moment. I mean, we don't want to draw our deck, do we? So, yeah, I'm actually not going to buff it again. We could buff it a bunch more times, but I don't think there's really much point in that. We just need to hope that they don't use that Aura of Silence on us. Well, there's our Hamlet's Archive, so do we just go absolutely nuts here and potentially draw ourselves into oblivion? I think they might be able to remove this at instant speed with the swords or something, so... Although they can do that in response to Garrick anyway. Yeah, let's go for the Alhamret's Archive. This is for Christian Roberts, one of the most loyal Mythic patrons to the channel, so we'll try and go absolutely nuts here and be really, really greedy just for the fun of it. But mark my words, this could be the end of us. So go for the minus on Garrick. Should draw 32 cards, which is doubled up to 64 with Alhamret's Archive. Alright, and landing that is awesome. Oh, Jesus, right, what do we do now? Okay, well, we've got Eldrazi. So, why don't we just go for Eldrazi? We've got a bunch of other stuff as well. Haste with the Akroma's Memorial. Okay, we've got fast mana as well, so we'll drop the Mana Crypt. We've got Reliquary Tower as well, which I think would be a good idea. Wow, our hand is absolutely huge. Alright, we'll go for the Reliquary Tower. Go for another forest with the Nature's Law, I think that is. No, it's 3 visits. We've only got 1 basic left in the library now. 7 cards left in the library, actually, so we better get round to doing something. Let's go for the Emrakul. So we control our opponent during the next turn, so we can make them tap that Karametra. Although we can get the Karametra out of the way now with the Ulamog. Oh, and of course, they've got Shroud, haven't they? So we'll go for the Sterling Grove, and let's exile the Sunpetal Grove as well, because that gets rid of the Fertile as well. We've got the Butcher of Truth as well, so might as well get that into play. Yeah, and our opponent decides to scoop at that. I was going to play the Kozilek, Butcher of Truth. Yeah, not sure why they didn't crack and go Aura of Silence onto this thing. Maybe they didn't realise that it's an enchantment because it's in the creature zone. But yeah, that does go from a legendary creature to a legendary enchantment, so if they'd realised that, I'm sure they would have blown it up with Aura of Silence. Maybe could have... Yeah, we could have, couldn't we? We could have floated a bunch of mana and then replayed this anyway. Or at least floated enough mana to replay it and then flip it round again straight away, even if they'd blown it up with this. So the thing they needed to do there really was get rid of the Hydra in response to Garrick's minus. But yeah, getting rid of the Xur player was really effective there. Let's see what we might have done after the Kozilek. Yeah, I mean, looking at the hands here, I think we got into pretty much everything we needed, which, big shocker, right? We drew the remaining cards in our library, so it's pretty much rampant card draw at this point. So we get all of our Eldrazi into play, and then it is pretty much, where has it gone? The Akroma's Memorial, I think. And then we just swing in for lethal. So definitely had our opponent there. Little bit of luck involved in that one player scooped, and then the Karametra player was pretty slow on missing lands, unfortunately. The Xur player couldn't really get going because they were slowly constructing a pillow fort, which wasn't particularly good against all our mana. So yeah, really glad that I got to show off this deck. Tried it once before for Christian, and it didn't go incredibly well, but it did this time, thankfully. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. Massive thank you to Christian again and all the other patrons. You can consider donating via the link in the description below if you'd like. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.